it, make sure your gauge is showing 150 to 160.
All right, at full throttle, on your right-hand side and your left-hand side should be running right at about 34 to 3,500 PSI.
Okay. If the relief is not set high enough to 34 to 35, you'll need to break this jam nut loose right here. Use a 7/8 wrench and an 8mm socket. Just break it loose and you'll screw it in to turn the pressure up. Now, if you go over 35, you're going to be hurting the relief on the pump. You're going to be blowing over the pump. So you need to keep it down to 34 to 35. Okay, now you've already done the pressure settings on your motors. Now you got to bring this screw back out on this unloader to 2,500. This will require 2 people. It'd make it a lot quicker to do.
The one on the left up here, this is your rotor motor gauge. The one on your right is your unloader gauge. You want to set your rotor motor gauge that when it goes up and hits 2,500 PSI, your unloader gauge kicks in. And it has to be done at full throttle when it's at operating temperatures. Here, we're going to show you what it looks like when it's in process. That was your example of how when one gauge gets up to 2,500, the other gauge kicks in. That's your unloader kicking in. That's bringing it back into the circuit at full throttle. When you're doing this process, you need to ease the throttle pedal down. Take your time on it, just ease it on down as you see your gauge working up, okay?
This is the low side of the unloader block. You have to break this jam nut loose. Cap. With a 13mm, and you'll have to break this jam nut loose. Put you an Allen wrench in it, number 4mm. You'll have to take 1,000 PSI gauge, hook it into the GP4 outlet. This is for the low side of the unloader. Make sure you keep your rotors strapped for this procedure. If you don't strap the rotors, and the rotors will turn freely, you'll damage your gauge.
Alright, what we're doing here is we set the low side pressure so it's at 190. You can see it right there on the gauge. There we go. 190.
To help heat up your oil quicker, you can unplug your hydraulic cooler fan. I just unhook it like that.
But you'll have to pay attention to it a lot more closely then, so you don't burn anything up. 3.
Okay, you'll have to take this cap off right here for your pitch and steering. Hook your gauge in there. And to set it, you come right here, break your cap off. And then you got a set screw in there. You have to break your jam nut. If you need to raise the pressure, turn it in. Need to lower it, turn it out.
It should be set between 490 to 500 PSI.
P1. This is GP1 gauge
port.
This is where you set your charge pressure right here. Break your jam nut loose. Turn the screw in to get more pressure. But your pressure needs to run about 135 to 140 at full throttle with the oil at 130 degrees.